Hi there. Since the beginning of this century, film cameras like the Walkman have largely been relegated to the museum of obsolete technology. There are pockets of photographers who are still keen on keeping the analog process alive, but like vinyl record collecting, it's become a niche hobby. For much of last century, film companies and especially Kodak ruled the photographic space. In 1976, Kodak owned 95% of the film market and 85% of the camera market. Other producers like Ilford, Agfa, Fuji, they had to fight incredibly hard to find their place and to carve out specialist markets. Trying to convince kids of the benefits of film over digital these days is really challenging.
An old camera, I think.
Pretty ugly.
It's big.
There's no photo fluid in this thing.
First you pay for the camera, then you pay for the film, then you pay to get it developed, then you get your pictures.
I feel bad for those people.
They say that the camera never lies, but it can stretch the...
There's something nostalgic or even romantic about those days when one would grab a handful of film rolls and head out on an assignment.
Come on. Good. Come on, more of that. Now give it to me, really give it to me. Come on now. Straight as fast as you can. Give it to me. Come on, right forward. Good.
But now film and regular assignments are rare. The smell of darkroom chemicals and the magical process of an image appearing in a tray of developer definitely made an impact on me when I first began. One felt like a magician. You could walk into a darkroom with a film canister and come up with a set of prints. I have to admit though that when the time came, I was quite happy to hand over my film cameras to a charity shop and to step into the digital age. I still have nightmares about being in pressurized circumstances and struggling to reload my camera. In these situations, there was always an anxiety about whether one should reload before something big was about to happen, or just keep on shooting. And every now and again, one misjudged the situation, and the film ran out as the best opportunity was happening. There were also those paranoid thoughts that the film hadn't advanced properly, and that nothing was being recorded. After 100 frames, you suddenly started to realize that, perhaps there was something wrong with this 36 exposure canister. There were also grim darkroom moments when, during assignments, instead of having a beer after a day of shooting, one had to tape up hotel bathrooms and develop and print pictures. Also, when you had to print for an exhibition, you would have to spend weeks breathing in that toxic air, and eventually you would emerge looking like a zombie. So no, I'm not one of those guys that hanker back for the old days. I thought that it may be interesting to look at an industry that was so powerful within the photography world and now is largely forgotten. Kodak was founded in 1888 by George Eastman. He was to photography what Henry Ford was to cars. He wanted the camera and the process of making pictures to be as easy as possible. So he adopted a business strategy in which he said to the customer, "You push the button and we do the rest." This was a really clever move because the rest actually turned out to be the most lucrative part of the business. His idea was to get as many cameras out into the world as possible, and then his clients would have to pay for Kodak film, take them to Kodak stores, and then pay for development and for prints.
For the better part of a century, Kodak could be considered the closest thing to a monopoly without ever becoming one, and that was no accident. Any memorable moment, from a child's first steps to a wedding, was branded a Kodak moment. Everything was vertically integrated. You bought your Kodak camera, where you put Kodak film inside, and
If you brought your film in to get it developed, you brought it to a Kodak store.
throughout much of the 20th century, Kodak could do no wrong, Every product launch, from cameras like the Brownie and the Instamatic to engineering feats in film like Kodachrome and Ektachrome, were a hit, even creeping into pop culture. Kodak didn't just set the tone for the film and camera industry, it was the film and camera industry.
Photographic film is basically a strip of transparent substance which is coated on one side with an emulsion. In this case, it's a fine coating of minute particles of light-sensitive silver halide crystals. The sizes and other characteristics of the crystal then influence things like sensitivity, contrast, and the resolution of the film.
As you go through from Pan F to FP4 to HP5, you're increasing speed, the crystals are bigger, and in general terms, the iodide content is greater as well.
When the camera shutter opens for a very short exposure, the emulsion darkens in the areas in which the light has landed. This slight chemical change creates an invisible, latent image in the emulsion, which then comes to the fore when you actually develop the film.
This pancake is loaded onto a rotary perforating head, which creates what we know as the sprocket holes. The information of the film, such as the film stock, frame numbers, and unique 4-digit batch number are also signed onto the film. Meanwhile, a hopper orients the cassettes into the proper direction for the barcode to be read, ensuring the right film stock is entering the cassette.
What the Kodak company didn't realize was that an invention by one of its own employees would eventually lead to its demise. Stephen Sasson invented the first digital camera in 1975. He adapted a Nikon SLR camera and inserted a digital CCD sensor to capture the light information. He added a tape cassette to store the process image. The photographic industry caught a glimpse of what was to come, how the whole analog process could be speeded up to produce immediate images. Kodak eventually released the first digital SLR in 1991, and it had a resolution of 1.3 megapixels, and it cost a huge $13,000, which is big now, but it was huge in those days. But like so many other huge, unwieldy companies, Kodak was unable to give up the position that they had. They didn't want to let go of the whole infrastructure that made millions for them. And they eventually got left behind, and they filed for bankruptcy in 2012. After a few years, the company started to claw itself back, and it showed profits again in 2016. Apart from making film for the movie industry, they responded to the growing interest by the group of photographers that wanted to return to analog.
So the exciting reverse of that, as film has been revived, we've started to bring some of those products back. We are making more than twice the amount of rolls in 2019 than we made in 2015. And it's been a steady increase. It's gone up 15, 20, even 30% per year. So it's great for us. It's been a challenge for us, but it's great. We don't think this demand for still film is a fad that's going to go away. It's sustained itself for 4 years right now, and the growth just seems to be accelerating. The future looks bright.
Kodak realizes that they will never again be the photographic giants that they were during last century. So they've been trying to explore other markets. They tried smartphones, cryptocurrency, and more recently, during COVID, they entered the lucrative pharmaceutical industry.
At some point, I think, became a crypto company, and now it's a pharmaceutical company.
In 2020, the American film giant has made headlines for its foray into, of all things, pharmaceuticals, specifically to treat COVID-19, with the help of a $765 million US government loan.
Thanks for joining me for this trip into the recent photographic past, and please join me again next time. Cheers.
Oh, I know what this is. This is a camera. I have this at my house. It's so good.
Here, let's try and find an opening. Why did things have to be so hard back then?
I hope there's like a YouTube tutorial video for this or something. That'd be great.
Nothing escapes Agfa film. Agfa captures the sharpest, brightest, most vibrant color pictures we've ever had. That's because Agfa is the first and only film to offer high-definition color. Nothing escapes Agfa film.
I imagine being a kid now with everything being so instantly connected and sharing imagery or words or videos, to take a moment to step back and slow down and be intentional with the camera.